Butchered that. Welcome back, everybody. We are back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast. Once again, season 3 going strong into our second month with these amazing interviews. Thank you all so much for the continued support, commenting, liking, sharing, subscribing on our quest to get 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. But if we get it everywhere else, that'd be kind of sick too. But before we get started, make sure you check all the links below to support the podcast. We got the merchandise. We got the season 3 t-shirt. We got the ABJ t-shirt. Tons of new stuff coming out. TeePublic will have all of your logos. Teesprings will have those limited one-off shirts where once they're gone, they're gone. And if they make a comeback, it won't be for very, very, very long time. Sorry, I got the burps already. Had a beer or two before. No. But yeah, so thank you guys for supporting the podcast. Links below to follow myself and my guest. We're here to have a good one. I am here today with, in my opinion, I say it multiple times on commentary, but nobody ever hears it because no one listens to that stuff. With the coolest guy, literally, in professional wrestling. He's just cool. Everything about him is just cool. I just want him to be my friend because he's super cool, but I think he keeps his friend group very, very tight. But he's out of Catch Point Wrestling, someone I've seen on the scene for quite some time, and I'm just a mega fan of this kid. I think he's going to go very, very far. I will bring him in to introduce himself and what he does, and we'll get this interview started right away. No bells, no whistles. Like I said, that support is huge. Also, before we start, Rudy Entertainment up atop. You'll see all the logos above my head in a moment. But Rudy Entertainment, the place to get all of your title belt needs. If you want your custom title belts like the Intercontinental YouTube Championship, the work rate champion right here, works harder than anybody in the business. Make sure you hit him up for your belt needs. Also, the High Tension Wrestling Network, doing amazing shows out of the Philadelphia area in 2025, collaborating with a lot of great companies. Make sure you hit them up, watch their content. This episode will be airing on the High Tension Wrestling Network the next day, so you can check these out on Mondays, but then see them later on in the day on High Tension. Without further ado, let's bring in today's guests. What's going on, bud?
You said you're having a beer before, maybe. I'm having one now.
I love that. I'm a Miller Lite guy too. Is that your drink of choice, or is that what was just available?
I was available, but I'm a cheap and wet guy in general. So I'm normally a Rolling Rock, or because it's Philly, it's usually PBR.
Okay, PBR. Let's see what we got here. No, I'm not drinking that one.
Oh yeah, you're drinking. Cheers.
There you go. I'm gonna go with a little hometown beer. I'm a Chetty guy. I'm gonna go Chetty. I think the other one in there is a Jenny Cream Ale. That's another fan favorite over here.
I've never had that one before.
Jenny's good stuff. No. Good stuff. That is a dirt beer. You can get like a 40 pack for like 13 cents. It's crazy.
Oh, that's perfect for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So let people know who you are, what you do.
Well, I'm Tom LaRosa. If you're watching this, you've probably seen me around a little bit to a degree. If you don't, I do professional wrestling when I can, hopefully as much as I can. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just me for the most part. But yeah, professional wrestlers, the main thing.
So kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. We met a couple times here and there. I really got to chat with you and hang out with you a lot Mania weekend. We were kind of in the same bubble most of the week between Labor of Love and Suplex Wrestling and stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest, for a minute there, I was trying to figure you out. I was like, is he the character all the time? Is it him? Is it one and the same? And then as I talk to him, I'm like, this fucking kid I love him. He's great. And then you back it up in the ring with that swagger and that attitude. And I became a fan favorite that weekend. You're awesome. I love it.
I mean, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know. Wrestling's one of those things that's funny to me. I don't really know. Like, people like to do characters, and that's cool. Like, I'm all about it. Like, have your fun, because I think wrestling's an art. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to be anything other than me for the most part. I could just kind of like exaggerate it a little bit, or I mean, depending on who you ask outside of wrestling, it's just still me.
Yeah. There's not many people that can openly say you've made my partner cry and still be a huge fan. For context, my partner Lily was ring announcing at New Era, and she was having just a horrible time with the PA system and the microphone's not working. And Tom did Tom, and he handed her the mic. It was women.
It wasn't her fault. It wasn't her fault, but you gotta give the people what they want.
You're just tearing these children and fans apart at the show. Was gorgeous.
I don't even remember really what I said to him because I kind of blacked out. Like he handed me a microphone and I was like, I don't even know. I don't know what I'm gonna say. So like,
it was great.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. So yeah, and then also I want to put give you some more praise here before we get going. Mania Week interviewed you, and then I seen you later at places like Sanctuary. I watched some of your footage there, and then I seen some of your stuff at New Era, and you have transformed yourself a little bit. You packed on a little muscle mass. You're really filling out. You're putting a lot of work in, not just in the ring, but just physically as well.
Yeah, I know. That's some Gulak gets on my case about. So I try to eat and lift as much as I can. Just not to be shitty, but like there's a lot of people you see in the independents who I don't think work out. And to me, like, if you're an everyday person, like you don't got to work out, do whatever makes you feel healthy and shit. But I think we're all trying to get somewhere in this a little bit. And unfortunately that means you got to look like you can do the job. And also like it does just generally help, like being more muscular, stronger, like because you're picking up somebody, you're putting their life in your hands. I was saying it's like the characters there, the rings there, the attitudes there, everything about you as a professional wrestler is there. If this kid puts a little size on, he's gonna be something people are gonna be talking about. He's gonna be on people's radars a lot more. And you have been putting that work in and continue to do so. And boy, I think the sky's the limit for you, especially in 2025. I hope so. I'm starting to get back in it. I feel like I took a holiday break, so now I'm back. So.
Yeah. So we'll get into a little bit of what you're doing to grow yourself here, but we'll start here back at the beginning. When did you fall in love with professional wrestling?
It's weird. Like I can't really pinpoint. Like it's probably around like 8 years old or something. Like I can't pinpoint the moment really, like specifically, but like I just remember like turning on the TV. And you see, you see the Undertaker come out, and to me, I'm like, this is the coolest guy in the world. He's like, he's huge. He's covered in tattoos. He's wearing a fucking huge leather jacket. He's spooky. He just just kicks the shit out of people. So to me, this guy's the coolest person in the world. So like, I'm just watching every week all of a sudden, and you start seeing other stuff too. Like you see, like Edge come out, and I'm like, this guy doesn't give a shit, and he's got a hot ass girlfriend,
multiple. He went through a few of them,
he went through a few of them, but when he had Lita, and I remember going like, where's my Lita? I want to be cool, and I want to have a Lita who's also cool, like what the hell? So like I just remember like it's always kind of been there. So like a moment I can't really tell specifically when it happened, but it just always was kind of there. And I just remember always being like hooked by it. And then the older you get, I think just the more I appreciated the art of it, you have, it's just storytelling. It's just all storytelling. And I think some people don't get that. It's a very, theatric and sometimes goofy, but sometimes serious form of storytelling. And a lot of people like it's one, you either get it or you don't. You either kind of ride with it or you don't.
It's wild too, because you're right now we're in a time where, and I'm probably regurgitating a lot of stuff here, but you have a company in AEW that treats it more, they try to treat it more sporty and more competition, and then WWE's more of like, no, this is we're telling a story more than we are worrying about what's happening in the ring. Like the ring work's still there, but one side's trying to be more like they're trying to balance it in two different ways. But at the end of the day, it is you're looking at you're telling story. The storytelling is regardless of what the match quality is. You should be telling the match a story while you're even performing in the ring as well. It's not just the promo work and in between.
Well, that's how they treat it. And like, if you're like a Japanese, they treat it very much like it's a sport. You know, they have a lot of seriousness to it. There's goofiness in there too, but like there's a lot of seriousness to it. And that's also translates to the style of wrestling over there. But AEW, I think, gravitates towards that. Like, that's the kind of stuff that obviously it seems like Tony really likes and he really wants to bring to the States. And I think there's a need for it, because obviously people, you know, they just grew up on WWE and then they see something like this. A lot of people were like, oh, okay, like this is different. This feels different, you know?
So what type of kid were you growing up? Were you always, were you a sports guy? Were you a theater kid? Did you kind of stay to yourself? Were you driving around Harleys with your rolled up sleeves and cigarettes in it? Who were you?
No, I was probably a little bit later. I was always kind of a misfit. I don't think I didn't do any sports or anything. I don't know. There's always like kids that are kind of like off in their own little world, and I think I never really got along with people for the most part. Not that I didn't like people or want to get along with people, but people thought I was weird. And I think at some point if you kind of go through that long enough, I think you probably either change to kind of fit in a little bit more, or you just kind of accept like that's you. And I didn't really mind if people didn't want to be my friend at some point. I'm still kind of like that.
I feel it. I respect it. I think that's why I gravitate to you. I'm like, I like this kid. He's cool. You just beat to your own drum. I respect that.
A lot of people don't. So.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I'm definitely a fan of it. Yeah. So, you know, growing up and stuff, and now you're lifelong pro wrestling fan. When did you start to pursue this industry, and how did you get started?
So I heard David Bowie say one time, I can't give everything away. And there's definitely some more to the story than I'm willing to tell, but maybe in the future. But I'll give.
It just better be here. If I see you tell the story in another podcast, we're gonna rumble.
It'll be in my book if it's not.
All right, that works too. I'll promote the book. Yeah.
No, so I had a near-death experience in Amsterdam, and when I woke up, I was like, a lot of things need to be different, because I wasn't completely satisfied with how my life was. So if I had bad friends, I cut bad friends out. If I had bad relationships, cut bad relationships out. Bad family, cut bad family out. And I took all my stuff and I sold most of it. And I moved out to a different part of the city, kind of by myself, and meditated on a lot of things and tried to see kind of what I wanted out of life, and kind of try to find direction, because I felt like I was kind of aimless for a little while. And then someone close to me at the time gave me a message and was like, hey, there's this place opening up in Philly, and I know you love pro wrestling, Catch Point, Drew Gulak School. And I was kind of like, well, I mean, I'm already in this place. Like, I don't own anything. This is all new for the most part. I didn't really own anything except for the records and books. But like, I got rid of everything, and I was like, all right, well, I got to try something new, you know? And I've always liked it. It's always been a part of my life. And there's always that part, I think, as like a fan, you're like, that'd be cool to do. And to me, I was just in a period of trying different things. So I was like, okay, like, let's give it like, at most I do it and I suck, but like, hey, I did it, you know? So I jumped in, and I was part of the first class of people that they trained over there in Kensington.
How big was the first class, and how many people are still actively there?
So out of the first class, I think it was one of the bigger ones, because a lot of times it's only like 3-4 people. I think we had like 8 or 9 people show up. And some have dropped off. I know me and Martin Hughes, Brandon Houdini, we're still there. We're still doing the thing. But some people have dropped off. Some people still come, but I don't think they wrestle as much for whatever reason. I don't know. To me, I was always kind of like, once I got in it, I was a little like, I mean, I'm not just like trying to do it as a hobby per se, which is, I think, the perception some people have. Mm-hmm. So to me, I was like, I'm going to really put my foot in the door. So it's like, once I'm trained, I'm going to every show I can. I'm jumping in cars. I'm trying to go to anywhere I can go, whether it's in the state or out of state, setting up shows, doing whatever you can just to see what it's like, you know, and see if you can get on. And I think probably me, Martin, and Brandon of the first class really had that mindset. So
I don't see Brandon or Martin as much. But one thing I do respect about all three of you, but you more, is
sorry,
you and Martin are a tag team in most places you go. And I think a lot of people early in their career get that mindset of like, this is my team, this is my homies, this is where I'm going to be. And if I can't get a booking without him, I'm going to maybe hold off on it. And you're someone's like, hey, I love you, but I'm going to still go and get mine if I can. If I can go there and be a singles guy, if I can go there and get an opportunity, I'm still going to do that. I think that speaks a lot for you in your younger stages of wrestling and knowing your mindset of what you want, that I respect very much so. Like, you're still very loyal to your people, but if an opportunity arises, you're still going to show. I've seen you do it numerous times where you showed up, set up a ring, you weren't even booked. Hey, do you need me? I'll fill in wherever you want. And every single time, man, you had opportunities. You wrestled a match, and I'm not disrespecting your opponent, but I was like, I knew of you, and the promotion didn't yet. And you were someone I was putting over very heavy at this place. And I was like, he's wrestling an 85-year-old dude. And I was like, this is a nightmare. Like, how, like, he's so young in his career. Like, this is probably a stylistic matchup that's a nightmare for him. How is he going to show, like, how is he going to show what I've been saying about him in this predicament? Like, I was like, this is fucking shitty. Like, and no disrespect to your opponent or anything like that, but I was like, I painted a photo of you, and they essentially put you in a match. I was like, this is a no-win, and you fucking won. Like, it was one of the most entertaining matches, and everything that I thought of you and perceived to you and said to you to these people, you went out and did that plus 110, and the next show they're like, all right, he's going to be a mainstay on our roster.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, like, I showed up, just again, like, you gotta, like, I'll tell that story, but like, in to the fact of just like going to places, like, yeah, like, I think a lot of people get like nervous, you know, like they need their friends around to do stuff. I think most people are like that.
But the support system's very heavy for them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not wrong per se, but I think you got to be okay with just being by yourself, you know. And
another person who reminds me a lot of that is Junie. You and Junie are the same way. You're very known for being in a team or a stable, but also can stand on your own if need be.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's and he was one of those guys when I first started. I feel like he really kind of like jumped to talk to me, which I appreciate. Yeah. You know, out of all the people, he's a cool guy, and I like Junie. And he kind of was like, yeah, just show up. And to me, that's always, yeah, just show up. You know, like, what's the worst that happens? You don't go on. Like, all right, you know, like, great, you still got to be a part of it in a way.
Yeah, you networked, you met people, you rubbed elbows.
Yeah, exactly. And with that show, like I got there and I had no idea what I was gonna do. Like, somebody said I'm gonna go on, and I'm like, sure, but I had no idea. And then they're like, hey, you're wrestling this guy, and he like lumbers over, and he's just like, I don't know.
Lumbers is a word.
I'll call things. All right, like, the finish is this, but like, I don't really call stuff. So I'm just like, he's like, are you cool with that? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, all right, like, let's just do whatever, you know? So like, I don't think we said anything other than what the finish was. So like,
oh, I'm aware. I watched the whole process.
some stuff to him while I'm in there. And he listens to some and he doesn't listen to others. But we got where we could, and if it entertained, it entertained. Like
as I'm very proud of myself that as someone who's never trained, but I love this business, and as someone who's just a commentary podcaster, fucking jabroni, I watch things while I'm setting my own stuff up, and I pay attention to things I probably shouldn't pay attention to. But like exactly like you're saying, and this is why I'm stressing it. Like you didn't have any communication. You're two people in your career that are on two different levels, two different things. But because of your attitude, because of your good training, you adapted to that situation so well. And given all of those circumstances, to me, that match was a fucking home run.
Yeah, it was exactly what people wanted. It was a good guy and a bad guy, and the bad guy got slapped around a bit.
Yeah, we still found a way to win, look tough, and look like we can build you to the future.
Yeah, and to your point too, like you're like, I don't, I'm not a wrestler, but I know things. Like, I mean, like you can know talent and you can know what quality is without being a part of it. Like Martin Scorsese's not an actor, but like he knows a good actor when he sees him. So like it doesn't matter. Like people can see quality when it's there. And I'm not saying I'm quality per se, but
you are, because there's how long have you been in the business and training and doing this?
So like about a year, maybe a little over a year.
So you're under a year or just coming up on a year in this moment of your career, walking into a veteran who's up there in age, who can't move, who can't do a lot, but he can work. He's not a wrestler, but he can work. And he essentially tells you, we're going to call it in the ring, which someone in their first year of their career, not a lot of people can do that. Like they panic. There's people who are 6 years into their career who I watch. If something goes wrong off schedule, they shut down and don't know how to fix it in a match. And like I said, you went out there and called it in a ring with an old school worker and killed it. But that's the magic trick to wrestling that a lot of people don't understand.
That's what they did back in the day. You know? It's not like Steamboat and Flair are necessarily like calling
Steamboat Savage, but
yeah, well,
these young kids. I just put them over in this fucking kid.
I'm saying generally, like it's not like they're neck, like anything, because they just know how to work. So they just go out there and be like, all right, like the finish is this. We'll go out there and we're just gonna do our thing.
I know what you mean. Steamboat and Flair can call it in the ring. Savage was more of a scripted guy. Yeah.
Like they can just move. Like it's what it is. And that's how it was back then. And I mean, like now it's different because there's a lot more like someone's like gonna pull like 450s out. Like some guy's gonna like triple backflip. Like you kind of have to go over that a little bit. But there is and there's positives to that and there's negatives to that. I do think sometimes it loses the magic, but sometimes it does add to it. It really depends on who's calling the match. But back in the day, they just worked, and I think a lot of people maybe get nervous about that. I don't know. To me, it's like go out there, just have fun.
Yeah, and you definitely do. How were the beginning stages and finding your place in this industry and at your school?
So I mean, I think a lot of people jump, and I saw it even at the school. Like a lot of people jump into stuff like wrestling. I think they have like a real expectation in mind and what they're going to do immediately. And to me, I'm just kind of like, I just wanted to learn, because some people I remember, because WrestleMania was coming up in Philly, people are like, oh, I'm trying to get bookings. And to me, I was like, I'm trying to just learn how to bump.
Yeah. They had rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah, like bookings, like I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm just I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I've seen those people drop off, like or they really like, some people really pushed for like, I'm going to be like doing this as my character, or this is like my gimmick or style. And to me, I was like, I just want to learn. Like I really don't know what I'm doing yet. So I'm just going to like jump in and kind of see what happens. And Catch Point is they take it very seriously. So it's very like, if you get in there and Nate Wallace from the Rep is training you. You better be ready to take a bump. You know, like he's gonna bump the shit out of you. And a lot of people, I think, get put off by that necessarily. And to me, I don't care. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, so you can hit the shit out of me, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's see what happens. But they take it seriously, and the craft's really serious. So it was cool to be a part of that experience and see it, and just kind of go to shows with the mentality. Like, I try to put myself like in the mentality of people, like how the Indies was when like Punk or Danielson were like new, you know, just jump in a car and go somewhere. So to me, I was like, every weekend I'm jumping in a car, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm going somewhere. Like, it doesn't really matter where. And I try to still keep that as much as I can, you know, and that's always been my mentality. And just learning how to like work, essentially, like learning what is wrestling. And like, I think a lot of people jump to newer stuff, obviously, but for me, I remember what I mostly like, I would watch tape every day, but what I watched was like Nick Bachman, you know, like real old stuff, because to me, I was like, I just wanted to know like what is it? Like, I've been a fan of it my whole life, and I know enough about it, like how it works, but like how does it start? You know, who are the people that are like pioneering stuff? So I'm just doing like the Von Erichs, and I'm watching you know, Flair, I'm watching Bockwinkel, or early Savage, like all these people who were really the big revolutionaries for the most part, like coming into what is today's day and age.
Like, what did they do that they brought something to the table that changed the course of wrestling, or how people perceived and did things later on?
Yeah, and just like how they worked, because like you said, like a lot of it, they just would go out there. They didn't really have like a call everything. You know, we're just gonna go and figure it out. If the crowd likes me, you know, I'll be the good guy. If the crowd hates me, we'll switch it up and I'll start being the bad guy. Like that kind of early like mentality. So I tried to like keep with that as much as possible for my first year. Now it's kind of like starting to be, all right, like what do I want to do now at this point? Like what interests me, what gets my creative fix, essentially. You know? I think a lot of people want to do, I think, what everyone else is doing for the most part, what they see on TV. And that's cool. But I kind of sometimes get bored.
Yeah. I think you keep it very simple, and you like hearing how you tape study the old school stuff. Like, I appreciate that. Like, I'm a gimmick guy all day long. Like, I love a good gimmick, but also like I like when it's sometimes simple is good, like keeping it exactly what it needs to be, and not overstretching what you want to do and what you've been trained to do yet. And I think you've been on a good trajectory of taking what you've learned, mastering it to the point you can, and making it work within the ring. And I think for me, that's what makes you stand out to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just I just want to learn how, like, especially my first and probably still coming, like, it's a lot of what the foundations of wrestling are, which is why I gravitated towards Gulak and stuff, because he's a very old school guy. You know, he likes his British wrestling. He's a big World of Sport guy. So like I watch that and I'm like, this is cool. You know, like I love this. And I don't know how many other people like are gonna tape study watching World of Sport. There's a lot, but you know, like, like, you know, here's what'd you watch? And they're like, I just watched, you know.
That's a match style that if you don't know what you're doing and then you try to replicate it, you're gonna bore the piss out of everybody.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the interesting part, is because like I like a lot of that, but now it's like
they're trying to do it with people who can't do it on TV, and you're boring the piss out of people.
That's the interesting part. How do you bring that to a more modern audience? You know, and there's different ways you can do it. but it's you got to be good. I think.
Yeah, that's a style of match. If you're gonna do, you can't kind of. I mean, you gotta approach it. I listen. I'm all for it. I like that NXT's trying to bring that style to the forefront again and give another take to the NXT Muppet Show. I think NXT is one of the most fun products to watch because it gets serious, then it gets really hokey, and then they try to add the old school British style stuff. Like there's a little bit of everything going on in NXT, and they're seeing what sticks, and I enjoy watching it for that reason. But sometimes they put the wrong people on those British strong style, like those British like matches, and it's just like, ooh, that Charlie Dempsey guy I think will really help out.
I think he knows what he's doing.
I think he's got a good grasp of it. Yeah,
he's probably seen that death growing.
Yeah. So what were some setbacks and adversities you have to overcome in your career at this point? Personal or, in the business? Minus the Amsterdam story. We're saving that for the book.
Okay. Probably my broken rib. Probably my damaged tendons in my right arm. I had a guy land on me once on my head at a show, and I couldn't turn my neck for like 2 weeks. That's always been fun. That stuff's always like, that's gonna come, but I definitely have been beat up pretty bad concussion. Those are usually, that's what's gonna come.
So you had all these injuries within your first year?
Within my first year. Yeah.
Because I really haven't, I'm not obviously with you every weekend, but I watch people and I see what they post and I see their work, but like I don't really see you take a lot of time off this year. So if you're working through it.
No, I worked through it all. I had a guy gave me frog splash. He was a little heavy. And I felt like maybe he just bruised my rib. And then the next day when I was working out, I felt like a pop in my back. And I remember later that day, I had to wrestle in front of Gabe Swapolsky, and I was like, awesome. This is great.
What's that guy's ever done? Like he'll never be anything, right? Yeah, NXT Evolve is coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. So that was fun. It's always been kind of like I got my ass kicked all the time when I was younger. So I didn't necessarily I don't mind taking a hit. It is what it is. I'm okay with that. But those are usually the bigger ones. Then there's just always the act of balancing life with pro wrestling. You lose time on a lot of things. You lose, the ability to hang out with people if you just push through it. Which is okay. It is what it is. But that's kind of like what you have to do to get your foot in the door. And even probably the more successful you get at it, you're probably going to miss birthday parties and funerals and dates.
Done all that.
Yeah. So, that's usually what comes with it. And those are things you kind of have to overcome emotionally and physically, obviously, with the injuries. Don't be afraid to take a hit.
Yeah. So this next question, it's usually it's hard to apply to someone in their first year. And I know from your attitude, if I ask you this, it's just a waste of both of our breaths about your peaks and have you hit it yet? So we're just gonna skip that one for now. That'll be when we touch base much later on down the road. But I kind of want to ask a question about your school. I've never been to Catch Point. I just lived vicariously through a lot of you guys and girls who come out of that school who I've met and worked with on the scene. And I'm very, very impressed with Catch Point of just the way their students conduct themselves. And I don't know if there's beef or heat or anything. I usually don't follow that with wrestling, but I'm very impressed with not just Catch Point, but we have a lot of really good schools in this Northeast between PA and New York and New Jersey and stuff. But Catch Point and the dojo, the Worldwide Dojo, really, really stand out to me of not just making good wrestlers, but good people. And I think that and the future of professional wrestling seems safe in the Northeast, at least in the Pennsylvania scene, because of places like Catch Point and the dojo. But going to places and being in a car all the time, what do you think makes, if you're gonna give a bullet point for someone to join a wrestling school, what do you think makes Catch Point stand out?
I think they take the craft very seriously, and we have a very large array of people there who are trainers, so you get different stuff any day you show up, from Gulak teaching you a lot of grappling and calling on the fly. Hot Sauce Tracy Williams is very technical, so if you really want to get a mind for that, he loves to do that stuff. Nate Wallace from the Rep is he's very old school with the way he teaches. I think he teaches how he was taught. So it's a lot of really being serious about what the craft is, and if you're doing something that isn't right, he's going to tell you, which I think is very helpful. I love that guy. I think it's very helpful to hear stuff like that. Yuta is very much he switches back and forth when he's there between a lot of lucha and a lot of British style wrestling. Vita Monstar is very much focused on trying to get you physically ready to be there, to be a wrestler. So you better get ready to do a lot of 5x5s.
I just learned she's a coach maybe a couple episodes. I've been interviewing a lot of Catch Point students just because of I want to give you all a platform to speak and tell your story. I didn't know she was a coach until recently. I'm a huge fan of her. She works her ass off.
Yeah, she's great. I love Vita. She's awesome. And
you're listed as coaches, and then you hear Vita, and I'm like, oh, she fits perfectly with that coaching staff. Really.
Yeah. And they're all they've all been linked to Drew in ways throughout their career. So whether he's helped coach them or they've just been in his sphere, and he's very, very good at what he does. He can really he'll teach you little things, but he'll pinpoint on you. Also, Kurt Robinson there is great. Kurt's amazing. Drew very much pinpoints little things that you do. So he'll watch you headlock, takeover, work up, cut off, Irish whip. And the whole time he's you take that, he'll watch you do the whole thing and be you take that step off, take it this way. And you immediately start to feel it, feel better. He can really sit down and pinpoint what you do and be do this. I see you try that and it's not working. Try this. He already knows what's going to help you.
Yeah.
And they're all really tough people. So
yeah.
Definitely. That helps with it, and I'm okay with that. I don't know how some other schools, and I'm not saying it's an unwelcoming place. It's a very welcoming place.
Yeah.
They very much want as many people to learn. They're welcome to all sorts of people and trying it out, but they do take the craft very seriously. So
yeah.
It's not.
I've heard great stories too of them just working the character work and helping people with their character work, of not just making you a tough wrestler or doing that stuff, but the character work side of things and the personal training aspect. I've been to schools where is weightlifting really something they tell their students that hey, you should go do it, but it feels like at Catch Point they're no, you should go hit. Yeah, all of you is you're most of you have Houdini, you have Martin Hughes, you have Zenith, you have these. You have Ben the Bean. We'll let them go, but most of them are in the last year. You guys, I'm joking, Ben. I love you, but your body has changed within a year span that has been impressive, and you can tell that it's coming from your training and your coaching, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and they really just encourage it also working out and getting healthier in this way. You're going to be able to do it more.
Yeah,
not to shit talk anyone, but the amount of people I've seen who wrestle, and I'm I don't even know if you go to the gym. You know? It kind of blows my mind a little bit, but it is what it is.
It's insane to me that people graduate a school and then say, well, I'm just not gonna go and do that anymore. I'm I just think that's such a missed opportunity. I'm not saying I get times are tough and money's tight, but a dojo or I'm just saying this from the local Philly scene for people listening to this, but like you have the creative pros that are like this as well. You have the battle clubs up in New York, but like there's people who are part of that coaching staff who are on TV.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying from a standpoint of like, oh, will that get you on TV? Maybe not, but it'll also like they're going to bring people in to do seminars, or people are going to come to that school and train who are on TV that are in the town that day that just need a place to get a rep in. And if you're a student of that school, like, oh, you get to grapple with this person like that's a game changer.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Like we literally just had Nick Gage show up. So like rolling around with Nick Gage was awesome. You know, I know Martin was loving that. As a big Nick Gage guy, he was loving that. But yeah, like we get people all the time. Like we had I know we had Paul London show up. We had Ember Moon show up. Like we've had people.
Athena, all right. Ember Moon was the old. All right. That's my
sorry,
personal favorite. So how dare you? All right.
Sorry, brother. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna be honest. If I was at a school and she showed up, I would probably mark out a little bit. I'm like, I just respect her as a talent. She's the greatest women's wrestler right now.
Hopefully we talk again. But like I remember, I don't know. She's not gonna give a shit if I tell the story. Like she showed up and was like, I don't know how to park this car. Like I don't know how to parallel park. So I was just like, all right, I guess I'll park your car for you. And in my head, I'm just like, man, I'm parking her car right now.
Yeah, you're parking the greatest women's ROH champion, the greatest ROH champion right now.
Yeah,
the longest reigning ROH champion.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm parking her car right now. This is funny.
You valeted. Look at you.
Yeah.
You made it.
I know, right?
How do so we skipped that one. What are some key moments or accomplishments? It could be matches, storylines, whatever it may be, so far in your personal life or in your career.
I mean, like, I think the last show I did, it was cool because it was like 500 people there. I was in New York at was it Excite Wrestling? I think.
Oh, you're doing stuff at Excite.
Yeah. So
I like that place. A lot of cool people there.
Actually,
I'm interviewing someone right after you that's from there that I'm a huge fan of as well, Tyler Reed.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, we went up there and we rode with Drew and did a show. And I've never really been nervous per se. And I wasn't nervous then. And I guess, like, I was happy to be like, I can go out. Like, I think the match that went on before us kind of left everybody quiet. And I remember just before we went out, like, I looked at everyone and I was like, we got to be, like, up. We got to get this room, like, going because, like, they're quiet right now. We got to really pick it up.
They're not at the mall anymore, right? They moved locations.
Yeah, we were at like some college gym.
Okay,
like that.
They used to be in a mall. Like they had an old
storefront. Yeah. I remember hearing somebody tell me about that. Yeah, they're in a mall, which is wild to me. I mean, that sounds interesting, but yeah, it was just really quiet. I don't know what happened in the last match, but the crowd died, and I remember just going like right before we went through curtain, I was like, we gotta all be up. Because otherwise, like, these people, we got to give them something now. And I remember just, like, going out there. I think it was, like, basically a little bit after my first year of wrestling fully. And just being able to get that crowd, like, really heated was nice. You know, I was like, all right, I can, like, be a wrestler in front of, like, 500 people. You know, and it was cool to work, like, they had the whole stands packed. And there's always very much at Catchpoint, like, learn how to work for TV. So know your time, know your, and know the crowd. So like, you're not working just for the people in the front. You have to work for the people who got the shitty seat in the back, you know? So like, you have to wrestle like big, you know? And that was cool to really implement that skill to be able to be like, all right, we have to work for the, boyfriend, girlfriend in the bleachers. Like they don't really get a good view. So
the venue changed or put that in perspective for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it was cool, like, cause you get told that, you know, like this is what you got to do, but then to actually go and do it do it well, I think, because we got the room heated was a great experience. You know,
were you in a tag match?
Yeah, it was me and Martin versus two of the guys that wrestle over there. I'm terrible at remembering all my matches.
Okay,
so.
because there's a tag team there, Chael Connors and TJ Epics. I'm a big fan of out of that school too. They're a really good tag team.
Yeah, I want to go back and wrestle more of those guys because I had a great time.
I'm a huge Sean Carr fan too. Sean Carr was like the first independent guy that I don't know if he's still actively at Excite as much, but he's someone too in that Binghamton area that I first seen him at a show and I was like, this guy, I love this dude. Like he's one of my favorites.
They got a lot of talented people up there. And it was cool to meet a lot of them because they were all super cool. Everyone was nice up there. But it was cool to learn that skill. And otherwise, just I don't know. I'm happy to just not get nervous. I feel like a lot of people when they just start out are really nervous about stuff.
What was your experience like in the battle royal at Mania weekend at Suplex? Like I mean, I've done a ton of shows, but I walked out and seen 2,000 people surrounding us, and I was like, this is crazy.
That was awesome. Yeah.
That was wild.
I remember I'm just like sitting around waiting to come out, and I'm like looking at shirts, and I forget who I was talking. I might have been talking to Yuta at the time because he was back there with us, and he's like, I think you guys got to go out there now. And it was like me and Martin went out at the same time, and we're just started like kicking the shit at people. And I remember like looking around, and I was just like, oh, there's a lot of people here.
I didn't realize until I went up on the ring to like film, and I like put my camera on. Like you couldn't see the end of the people in either direction. I was like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah, there was so many people there, but it was awesome because like to me, it even makes it easier to wrestle, in my opinion, because like the more people there are, is you don't have to focus so like when it's a smaller room. You kind of have to really focus in.
Or that one person can stand out more.
Yeah, when you're wrestling in front of like 8 people, you better learn how to read those 8 people while you're out there. You know, but if you're wrestling in front of like 2,000 people, like that's easy because you can just do whatever you want. You know, like as long as you perform well and you still give them something. Like I just remember yelling at people, like because I don't think they really had any like heels.
Yeah.
You know, so I remember it was like first time we get out there and I just like look at some kid and I just start yelling at him. You know, I took
a bump on commentary that day.
Did you?
Yeah, Thunder Frog came down with the hammer and I sold it. Yeah. I sold it on commentary. Everyone looked at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, you have to.
Yeah, I remember them telling me they're like, we're gonna do this hammer spot. And I looked at Eric Martin. I was like, why don't you choke slam me and throw me out before we do that? Like, we'll have the other guys do that. You can throw me out before.
He did it with he normally has a hammer, but he didn't have it with him. So he went to a comic book store down the street and bought a Thor toy and literally had like a fucking toy hammer.
I remember they were talking about that in the back, and I was just like, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just gonna good. Go out there.
I love that so much. Influences and role models, whether in the business or in your personal life.
I mean, like I'll start by saying like all the people that train me, I really respect, and I try to pick their brain as much as I can when I'm there, and seeing how they like Hot Sauce and Drew and Nate and Kurt, like I ask them a million questions as much as I can, and I try to see what they think is good because I think they're all very talented people, and I try to understand it through their eyes as much as I can. But I mean, otherwise, like I always really admired, like I tried to take things from different people. So like I always really admired people who were like Joan Jetts and Bob Dylan's, people who just really unapologetically them and moved through life that way, whether or not it aggravated people or not, and especially through their art. You know, I mean, to me, wrestling's art. That's all this is.
Now, for how much music, and you just list off and then your background, I'm seeing musicians and records, and do you play any instruments, or do you just like music like that?
I used to play guitar, and I taught myself a bit of piano, but I haven't touched up on that skill in a long time.
Okay.
I remember there was a period in the pandemic where I was like, I'm going to teach myself as many new things as possible. So I remember I was like teaching myself guitar, how to gut a fish, like all these like weird skills that I was like, I don't know when I'm going to put this to use, but like I'm going to try to see if I can learn it because there's always time. But I used to play guitar. I used to fiddle around with piano. I used to fiddle around with music stuff a bit, but it's been a long time.
That kind of leads into our next one: hobbies or interests outside of your industry.
I mean, right now I'm back into writing, so I'm working on a writing project, and we'll see where it goes. And if there's some music stuff too, but I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm doing this, and then I never put anything out. So like,
when you say writing, what type of writing are you into?
I usually do a lot of like script writing.
Interesting.
For like either stage stuff or like something I can film like real quick. So I have some stuff down. I also just like try to creatively write as much as possible, whether it's like whatever is like a rambling book form or like poetry or something like that. Like just to always keep my brain kind of really like creative.
Very creative. I love that. That's super cool. It's funny how much like art it's and I always tell people like how much pro wrestling inspires everything. Like everybody wants to be either a rock star or a pro wrestler. Like they're one and the same. Like
it is the same. I mean, like you look at a guy like Dylan, you know, like Dylan turned heel when he went electric. Like it's all about just like working the crowd.
Yeah.
It's very much the same thing. It's all like a creative theater performance that you put on for yourself, almost in a way, as much as it is for other people too.
Yeah.
You know?
Now you said you have a lot of books too. Are you like an autobiography guy? Do you like stories? What are you reading?
Right now I'm rereading an old favorite, a Murakami book called The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles. But yeah, I try to read as much as possible. Because again, also it helps with the writing. But yeah, I try to read whatever really. I'm not like a self-help book kind of guy, but like I like autobiographies of people that I like. Like I've read Bob Dylan's, I've read some wrestlers ones that I really enjoy.
The Dirt is my favorite autobiography book of all time.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's so good. I'm an audiobook guy because I don't have the patience. ADHD in my brain does not work well with reading. I'll read 3 chapters and remember none of it. I won't consume it by reading. So audiobooks are like my jam.
That's what I do when I work out. I'm an audiobook guy while I'm working out. So I'm like, get through like 2-3 chapters in a worworkout. And then
you know what I've been audiobooking? And it was of advice of Lindsay Dorado. I've been listening to the 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
It's like he goes, I tell everyone in the wrestling business they should read this or listen to it, and it'll help you in the industry of performance art and just general, just like learning how to navigate certain things. And I'm just like, all right, I'll check it out. It's been very interesting.
Is it? Okay. I'll check it out.
It's a self-help book, but it's definitely super interesting.
I'll try one. We'll see how it goes.
Listen, the guy Lindsay's done some cool stuff, so I'll take his advice. You know.
Okay, he's a cool guy.
Yeah. Encouragements for a beginner. Anyone trying to chase their dreams or doing what they're doing.
I mean, like, so for wrestling, like, you can hear the same people tell you the same shit like over and over again. You know, whether it's your slow downs, whether it's to like go to as many shows, watch tape. Like, I'm not gonna
rings, carry boards.
Yeah, exactly.
Grab a chair.
Yeah, like I'm not going to tell you anything new there. I think a thing that people don't really talk about that much is I think no matter what creative you do, you're always going to have people that don't believe in you per se. But you're going to have people that you love personally look at what you do and not get it. Or you're going to have people see you who you love, look at you and be like, I don't see a future in you. Like with this, I don't see this going anywhere. And like that's gonna suck, and that's always gonna suck. But the only thing you can really do if you truly love it is to just keep moving forward, I think. Like, and it doesn't matter what you do. Like if you're a writer or a painter, any kind of artist, if you enjoy what you do, you just kind of have, and you believe in yourself, you just kind of have to push through that, even if it makes you feel hurt and a little empty to hear that from people you care about.
Jesus Christ, man. Tag me next time. Fucking wow.
It just, it is what it is. Like people are always going to doubt you. It hurts more when you hear it from people you care about.
Yeah.
I got told, like, I don't see a future in you because of doing this, and to me, I'm kind of like, that hurts to hear, but like, you gotta move forward.
Yeah. No bullshit, dude. I'm not saying this because any other reason. I try to be there's a few episodes, and I'm not trying to shit on people, but like there's times where I just make a post and if someone hits me up and I'll be like, all right, I'll give them a chance. I'll let them come and tell their story and stuff. But most of the time I'm very selective of who I have on here because it's people I genuinely care about and genuinely think that I have a future. And you're definitely one of those dudes, man. Like I'm genuinely a fan of you as a person and what you do in your industry in just less than a year's time, the way you conduct yourself. And now having this conversation and hearing about you as a person and more what makes you tick, I'm even more of a fan, kid. And I'm telling you, like, if you keep your mind where it is and keep grinding and you put yourself around the people you put yourself and the schools that you're at and the people you're around, the sky's the limit for you. Like you have a lot of potential.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the kind words. You've always been someone when I've been around was always supportive and cool, like a lot of people just, and you've seen it too. We've all been a part of it.
Yeah.
Just brush you off. They don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
It's about them, and to me, yeah, like I want to do good at what I do. I want my art to be good, but like I also don't necessarily want to change who I am, to do it. I don't want to be fake, and a lot of people.
I think that's what makes you stand out to me is because you're you. I think that's what I dig the most about it.
It's the same with you. Like I think you've always just been like, this is what I think. Like when I meet you and I talk to you. So to me, I'm always like, all right, this guy, like. He's willing to be him. He's willing to say what's on his mind, and he's also
good or bad, right? Good or bad.
Good or bad. Good or bad. Like,
not everyone's a fan, but
the thing I like about you too is like there's honesty, and I respect that. But there's also like just the show of kindness, that goes a long way for people. Because some people can just be honest, and that's cool. I appreciate it. But if someone's still willing to be kind, that's a whole nother thing. Because a lot of
being kind and giving constructive criticism is something I try to do as well, because like I don't always just blow smoke at people's asses and be like, you're the best, I really like you. Like if you go out and shit the bed, I'm gonna say like, hey man, that probably wasn't my like, if just from my take, I'm nobody, but just giving you, because feedback in general is good. I want it, I need it. Like, and I make art too. This is my art, this is my platform. And if someone's always telling you you're amazing, it's not helping you all the time. And Green Ant taught me that. Like Green Ant told me before, like don't fucking sugarcoat people. Like if they fucking suck that night, tell them they suck so they can get better at it, but do it with kindness. And that stuck with me forever. Like that, I love that dude so much. Not Green Ant anymore. Who is he? Ultimo Ant?
Ultimo Ant, yeah.
Ultimo Ant, my bad. Sorry. I'm like Cornette where I meet Cactus, and you know what I mean? Like you're Cactus forever, you know?
I get that.
But yeah, that stuck with me. Like I sometimes it gets me in trouble and sometimes it doesn't, but just being genuinely honest with people is just like, hey, that was a stinker. You know what I mean? Like I thought I was gonna have. I thought we were gonna. That night, that match we talked about, and like I said, no disrespect to your opponent. He's out there making art too. He's hanging in there. He's a very nice guy. I had a great conversation with him, but I was like, man, I wish I can rechange the order of the card and put you somewhere else, because I just felt like this was a way that this was not going to showcase you in the best light. And then after the match happened, I was like, that was the best thing the universe ever did, because you were put in a situation where you had no win and you found a way to win. Like from a worker standpoint, to a crowd, to the people in the back, to the people that mattered to, like, you just proved you're a fucking worker. Like that was huge.
Oh, I mean, thank you. Yeah. I mean, like, and to me too, like I always want, like, constructive criticism. Like
Mhm.
I've wrestled, like, and that's why I do like Catch Point, because they're very willing. Like, you go and do a match and you think like, man, this was really good, and you show it and they're like, here's everything you fucked up, and here's every opportunity that you missed to make more out of it. And you're like, you can't get deflated by it. Like, as much as it's like, fuck, you know.
I wish there was a podcast school like this. Like I'd love it. I need something like that.
You got to start interviewing podcasters.
Yeah. I do, but like the only problem is this industry is really cutthroat, and when you try to collaborate and work with other people, they only care about getting themselves over, and it's hard to find genuine people who care about you just as much as you care about them. And I think that's where I fall into the trap of, like, I put a lot of energy into wrestling, and I put a lot of people energy into the other wrestlers, and then I have this amazing interview, and then they leave this little box, and then they like, it's like, hey, what's your favorite interview you've ever done? They're like, I don't fucking care, podcasts all suck. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, thanks. I poured my heart and soul into that. Like, no, do I think there's a lot of podcasts out there who don't fucking try, and they're fans who are just interviewing their favorite wrestler? Sure, I get that, but I feel like I bring something different, and sometimes it just doesn't always stand out. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is make it stand out more.
No, I respect that. I think I was like shit talking a podcaster, because it wasn't like they interviewed wrestlers. It was like two chicks who's never. It's not like they interview local talent. They don't give a fuck. It's just two people who talk about like AEW and Monday Night Raw, you know, like, because they think they can make a buck off of it.
Yep.
And I remember one of them, they were like shit talking Mercedes Moné, because her whole, like, her husband doesn't make her gear anymore. And they're like,
I've seen that. Yeah.
They're like, you can really see that. So I just started being like, who are these two fucking bitches just sitting around like nothing but Cheeto dust on their fucking shit?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think there's some people on TV who are only out for themselves, and they don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. I could be wrong in some of those aspects and those feelings, but yeah, I always try to come at from a standpoint of, like, you don't really know that person, and if they're making you hate them, they're probably doing their job.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're getting worked. You're getting worked.
You're the smart Mark fan who's making content, and that's why. And that's I have a hard time relating to those fans and making that style of wrestling content, because, like, I kind of seen how the magic tricks are done, so I'm like, you know why they did that, right? And they're like, it's so stupid, it doesn't make sense. I'm like,
I love it.
Yeah, like, listen, I get caught up in it sometimes, like the Mania spot with the Undertaker. I fucking hated it. I hated it. I thought it was so.
You didn't like it?
No, because, like, my whole thing is that whole storyline was told for 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
And the way I would have booked it is, like, everyone who Roman has done wrong. If you want that Avengers moment, Roman has done all these people wrong. They come in, they push off the opposition. Cody has that one-on-one moment. He beats the man clean and leaves.
Yeah.
But the Undertaker coming out and chokeslamming him, to me, is like the WWE's biggest problem is what made the Attitude Era special. I'm going on a soapbox here, is because all the legends were on WCW. So this new generation had to stand up and be who they were and create a new legendary team themselves. Yeah, and they did that, and they held their own. But then they never want to pass the torch on to the next person. Like, every time it gets real hot and real popular, they have to come back in and show that they're better than everybody else. And WWE condition their fans to love the legends more than who's actively there. And they're like, well, why can't we grow new talent? I'm like, because you won't let go of the past sometimes. Put them in the front row, have them wave, and that's your legend spot. They shouldn't be coming in and bearing your talent week in and week out.
You're not wrong, but I will say one thing is, you're telling me you wouldn't have marked out if the glass broke?
No, because he wasn't part of that story.
All right.
Yeah, I would have marked out more if Kevin Owens came down and stunned The Rock, and then him, Sammy, and Drew, and Seth pushed those guys away so Cody could have his moment of just that 1-0. Because I feel like if you're telling this story for 3 years and somebody else comes in and delivers the final blow for you to make the pin, you don't get your gratification because it just puts somebody else over.
Yeah, exactly. No,
you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And no one's wrong in either situation. The bells dong, everyone's excited. The Undertaker comes out in a pair of sweatpants, and it was awesome.
Hey man, he loves coming out like that.
Like the Rhea Ripley moment. Like, I was like, I could have done without that. Like, Rhea Ripley won the title. I didn't like. Here's how I booked that. Taker comes down. I'm literally doing exactly what you said you hated, which is great. Taker comes down. He gets off the bike and gives it to Rhea. She circles the ring in the motorcycle, claiming that it's her yard now. She does the pose and leaves. Pass the torch.
Oh, yeah, it would have been cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been a lot cooler.
But brother, I don't work for me.
He's got to go over, bro.
Yeah. That's why when you won that match, because I didn't know how it was being booked, I'm like, I'm glad they made the right choice and put LaRosa over here, because he's the guy that's going to be here next month to tell a fucking story.
Yeah, I never saw that guy again. So,
yeah. I couldn't even tell you his name.
I remember. I won't say it.
I know the gimmick name. I don't know his real name.
Yeah.
Great eyebrows. Man, those things were fucking everywhere.
Oh, huge. That guy was wild.
Very nice
cool.
guy.
I'm not gonna
Very nice guy. Yeah, not shitting on him, but that seems to be a thing where a lot of people can't let go of their past to let the next people step up.
I know. I'm like, God, I hope that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah,
I hope it does not happen to me.
It probably will. Let's just be real. In this business, it probably will.
Maybe. We'll see.
Last question before we get out of here. What are you grateful for? And are you currently happy?
I'm grateful to one, get back in the swing of things, and I'm grateful for the people that I've met along the way, whether they were good or bad. They've taught me a lot about myself, and there's been a lot of good people to give me encouragement. There's been bad people to show me how to not be an example like that, how to treat people better. Am I currently happy? I don't know, dude. Is anybody?
It's just the little moments of happiness are what are important, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, life is full of ups and downs. I might have a shit day tomorrow. I had a shit day a few days ago, but some days are better than others. You just got to keep going. It's life. Yeah.
So 2025, I know we're 2 months in technically when this airs, but as of right now, it's still 9 days into the new year. We pulled the curtain back. Who's your hit list for 2025? Not actual FBI. Listen, if you're listening, we're not actually saying we're going to hurt people or harm people. Who would you like to work or perform with in 2025?
No CEOs. That's not who we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, I'm not going to be upset by
it. I don't know. That's, to me, it'd be cool to finally wrestle a few guys I've been on the road with. I've wrestled Mookie Summers in different matches, but we've never just been able to have a one-on-one match. And I think that would be fun. I've never actually, no, I have, me and Junie have touched each other. We were in a battle royal. And we punched the shit out of each other for a while, but we never wrestled a match. So there's peers that I have that I haven't actually been able to call a match with, which would be cool. Bigger opportunities, I don't know. I just take it as I come. I've never thought about it as in who do I hope I get to wrestle coming up or this year, because to me I don't want to set myself up for any disappointments, to me, even high goals, I think a lot of people obviously are I want to get a contract, and yeah, that'd be cool. The end goal is to make some kind of money doing this, obviously, but also be creatively fulfilled. So there's things I'd like to do. I'd like to do a Japan tour. I'd like to do a European tour, but I try not to, I push myself as hard as I possibly can and go everywhere as much as I can and try to show that I'm a talent that knows what to do, even if I'm newer in the game, and I'm not afraid of anything, that I'm willing to put on a good show and apparently put my body on the line in order to do it. But
when it comes to those overseas tours, man, it's just literally asking. I think what happens to a lot of people is I think too many people wait for the opportunity to be handed to them. And I'm guilty of this as well.
Yeah.
the another people I'm going to have on the podcast later on this year, the Brothers Gray. They're a tag team out of Pennsylvania, and they just did a Australian tour, and their Australian tour led them to a Japan tour. And they were over in Japan for a couple weeks, and they killed it. And it essentially just came down to they did the research, found out who did what, had made some conversations, just how can we make this happen? And they got it done. You know what I mean? And just I think too many people sit on the Yeah,
I do agree. I think a lot of people sit on it. I mean, like, and that's another thing. Like, I'm always trying to find like where can we go? Like, what can we do? I don't necessarily think like I think some people are always like I'm trying to get on like
Dark.
Trying to get on AEW Dark or whatever. I'm trying to get on AEW. I'm trying to get right on TV. I don't want to be that guy that like thinks I'm going to be the main event at WrestleMania, and then like if it doesn't come, I'm like this jaded, bitter piece of shit.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm just like I enjoy doing this, and I know I work hard, so I try to push myself and see how far I can go, and you know I will push for myself, but I'm never necessarily like, maybe I should project more. I should be that guy who does that, but I never want to be like disappointed in life. You know, like I don't want to do this whole like, oh, like I was meant to do all this. Like no one's meant to do anything, you know? So to me, like, I just want to go and see what I can do and see what life brings me. I have like an idea in mind of like, the future I want for myself, and I'll work to that. But I don't necessarily have dream opponents per se or anything. Like what comes my way, and I'll do good.
I think what I would love to see for you is and unfortunately I was hopefully going to do it with the powers I had at that point in time, but I want to see you in a story arc. I want to see you work an actual angle with somebody and have a tape that it's not just, hey, I showed up this weekend, did a match, or I was in a battle royal, or I was in a 6-man or a 4-way. I want to see you in a one-on-one situation where you get to be creative and do a storyline with somebody. And I mean, I'll put it out there, and if somebody else wants to book it, please do it. But I thought you and Skylar Kincaid would have been a really cool storyline with your two characters. He's been around a long time. He has a brother who's on TV. He knows what he's doing. And you of that new guy who just needs that person to push him creatively. And I thought you two would have been a really cool. He doesn't get excited very often. It's hard to get him out of his house to wrestling shows. But he was super impressed with you. And I was like, he's motivated. And if you're his motivation, that would be cool to see something pursue with it.
No, and I loved working with him, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I mean, and that was the thing, like, because the moment you're referring to, like, I sometimes, especially in like the last year, ended up with happening sometimes, just like I'd be doing wrestling, but then sometimes like it can be kind of like creatively killing in a way, because like you show up, you're gonna work a no-name match, you're gonna fight a guy. Because it's a lot of, especially in the early on, it's just trying to prove that like you can move, you know, or you're trying to network, you're trying to even just get on, but then you're not handed anything, you know? So at some points where like you've been doing that for so long, you can be like bored almost. So I remember doing that, and I liked the match. Everything was good. I loved working with him. And then, you know, it's like, here's a mic, just go and talk. And to me, I was like, oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really like if I get on a show, I'm really just like, I know I can work, but like give me a mic.
Yeah, and that was my vision. Just like, hey, this show, we're going to make sure this person gets an opportunity to say something in front of the crowd, and then this person gets to say something backstage, and let's start breadcrumbing storylines so every single match in the Colt card has a creative story, and it's not just, hey, your main event's the only thing we're worried about, and everybody else is filler in between. And I thought, and that's what I was really trying to do there. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out because some people don't think I deserve it, but that's fine. That's fine. They're gonna be where they are, and I'm gonna be where I am. But it's just I'd love to see more for you in that role. Not so much of who, but I would love to see you in a creative role of standing on your own, or even with your tag team.
No, yeah, I'd love that. Like it'd be nice to have a more because a lot of shows I don't think really focus on any talking, so you kind of got to like build it while you're there out in the ring. But I would like more opportunities to be able to do that, because to me that's where a lot of the bread and butter is of what
our companies tell you to send promos in and then don't use them.
Yeah, oh my
You love that, right?
Tell me about that. You know?
I'll put it over again because I know I'm going to sound like a broken record. I love that Catch Point's doing those little vignettes of each school, like person in the school, like I'm this person and da-da-da. Like, I love them. I want more of them. I think whatever team came in to record those and using the social media, Catch Point social media, beautiful. You guys do a great job.
Yeah. Especially, I think for a lot of people who don't necessarily go out of their way sometimes, like I think it's a good stepping stone for some people, to really like help get them on their feet to put them out there.
There's a lot of really good wrestlers, but the charisma is at a 2 and their wrestling's at a 9, and it's just how do we put more tribute points in that category?
Yeah, exactly. It's just another skill to build.
Yeah, awesome. Where can people find and support you?
You type in Tom LaRosa on Instagram, I'll pop up. I don't even remember what my Instagram handle's name is, but it's a picture of me in tights. I'll shout out. I'll do my cheap plugs for Tuesday.
Please do. This is your like I said, this is your episode.
So for one, I'll plug Catch Point. If you have any interest in doing professional wrestling, or you just like it and you want to know more about it, Catch Point in North Philadelphia. Look it up. It's a great school. I think it's the place to go. And if you're an animal person in the Philadelphia area, please look up Philly Bully Crew. They're a group of people that help foster and rehabilitate dogs in the local areas, usually specifically pit bulls, just because the amount of them that are at shelters is a lot. So they go out of their way to help pay for medical bills and get dogs homes. And I think they're very good people. So give them a follow and support them.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, that social media is tough to get a hold of you, but we got it done. I'm very thankful.
I'm a bit elusive. I know.
Yeah. You're tough. You're tough to nail down, but I think that's what I appreciate about you. We got to enjoy a beer. We had a good podcast. I had a good time. I hope you did as well. Everybody, thank you so much. Make sure you hit those links below to support myself, my guests. Check out Catch Point Wrestling. Follow them on social media as well. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Hang out after. Don't jump out of the screen right away. And we'll see you guys next time. We're out of here.